What a glorious Friday morning, ladies and gentlemen. Hello, welcome, and how the H are you doing? Welcome to Breakfast with Boom. I'm your host, Mr. BoomStick XL, and what a Friday. What a Friday to wake up to. The preliminary decision from the CMA approves the Activision Blizzard King merger. We all knew it was going to happen. Now it is official. Don't let the naysayers say, "Oh, but we have until the October 6th." Shut up. We know that the deal is done. Stop trying to poop on everyone's parade. We're here to celebrate. I'm here for it. We got 100 people here, and we are loaded and ready to go. Ladies and gentlemen, what you see on your screen in celebration, and of course, Fuzzy just arrived, Division 3. For the love of the gaming gods, yes. Now, all we need is Titanfall 3 to be added to that conversation, which I think it's going to happen. I have recorded some Division 1 footage. Yes, this is Division 1. I'm running around the streets of New York City, where, of course, I patrolled as an actual police officer, and this game is glorious. I got about just under 2 hours, so this is what you're going to see. This game is still amazing, and Titanfall 2 has seen a resurgence since the update. But, folks, for the most part, we have to really dig in to what Sarah Cardell of the CMA said. We're going to get some comments from Lulu Chang, obviously our hero. Lulu has been in the streets doing what she does. We have Brad Smith. We have Phil Spencer commentary. We also have, of course, Bobby K, his commentary. We're going to be breaking all of that down. I'm going to be reading it all verbatim. So, so if you didn't see it for yourself, you'll have all the up-to-date information. But before we get there, let's welcome in the panel. Web Dave, good morning, kind sir. Lots of excitement and Xbox. I mean, what a time to be an Xbox player, right? Could there be a better time? And folks, officially, Call of Duty is first party. I love it. How you doing, Dave?
So if this is about competition, let us have competition.
There we go. Something $1. How you doing, kind sir?
I'm doing great, Boom. It's a good day, and like you said, those two or three people that are trying to poo-poo, well, it's not quite October 6th. Dude, like we said from the beginning, still's getting done. No reason not to have it done.
Hold the line, Dave. You and I,
exactly.
and Crispy and Fuzzy, we all held the line, and all these other, cowards and these yellow bellies are all like, "Oh, the deal is done." Shut up. Maybe this is not the podcast for you. I don't know what to tell you, but we're here to celebrate.
Oh yeah, it's party time, and man, we got the crispy one, we got the fuzzy one. We might
even have a few guests.
We might get a little salty today, Boom.
Yeah, well, you know what? It's. I'm taking my salty victory lap. Normally, I'm very reserved, but you know what? F that. Crispy Bomb, you're here. It's scandalous. There are people in the community crying. There are people in the. I actually saw. Shout out to John Wolf, who informed the public, this was an amazing tweet, that pharmacies around the globe have run out of blood pressure medicine because of all the salt from all the PlayStation fans.
Public service announcement.
John Wolf saving the people one pill bottle at a time.
It is absolutely hilarious and awesome that I return with all of this to go over. It has been just like sitting there chomping at the bit because, as everyone knows, I used to like jump on every cast I possibly could. And I've kind of, you get the crispiness today, and it's been like 2 weeks. So
yeah, it's been a minute.
You're gonna have plenty of salt for your blood pressure medication. That's really all I got to say right now. We're gonna get into it, and you're gonna get all of the little tidbits that we have seen so far. So let's do it.
Yeah, and of course, last and no way least, Fuzzy Belvedere, I couldn't wait to get you on today. Not only did we have this breaking news, but Division 3, holy cow, your game, my game, it's officially in active development. They're putting the team together. Obviously we're going to be covering it. The question is, are they going to be globe-trotting? Is it going to be a lot of places? Are we going back to New York? We're going to get out of Washington finally. Where could they end up next? There's a lot to get excited about with this game. The Vision, my favorite new IPs from last gen, right along with Destiny and of course Titanfall. Absolute amazing games, and specifically enough, got me to play online, which I normally don't do. And my brother and I and our friends, man, we had a crew that was so freaking good. Man, everyone was on point. I was known as Roscoe Jenkins because, of course, I always ran around the corner and got into a shootout when we were trying to avoid it. And like, God damn it, Roscoe, you got us into another firefight. So, yes, I am Roscoe Jenkins of the group. But how you feeling, brother? Good morning.
Oh, good morning. Oh man, this is a glorious morning. Like good news in every direction. Like you said, Division 3 being talked about, ABK finally wrapping up, just Game Pass getting bombarded with games. The Xbox leaks, yeah, that was a low point, but it was kind of a high point because it showed us behind the curtains to some of the stuff that they've been working on. So yeah, it's just a ton of stuff. Oh, and Tokyo Game Show happened, and we got a couple of announcements there too. So yeah. This week, I would say if weeks would count as far as gaming ratings or like review scores, it was like a 12 out of 10 type of deal this week. So,
Indeed.
Yeah.
I am going to say this, and this is not to be scandalous or console war, throw console war shenanigans to the conversation, but man, Sony's nowhere to be found. Spider-Man is coming out, and it almost like it doesn't even matter. Like I'm excited. I'm personally excited for it. I've talked about it on just about every show, but it is so low on the totem pole with everything that's happening positively for Xbox and Microsoft and its community. Starfield still continues to, blow numbers out of the water. 10 million players continue. It's still number 2 on Xbox, and on most played games, only behind Fortnite. Like, are we serious? Like, come on. Obviously, it's safe to assume, right, that this deal with Ubisoft potentially opens a handshaking kind of a door for content or first access of content with Ubisoft and Microsoft. There's obviously something there. I would not be surprised if you start to see not exclusives, but maybe Game Pass deals. What are your thoughts on that, real quick, Fuzzy?
Yeah, I would love to see like Game Pass perks and things along those lines. Like all things considered from Ubisoft, like Division 3 is going to be a day one buy for me. And if we get like
Collector's
30
edition
days
and
early
all,
access,
which I still have the original one, by the way.
Oh, same. So it's like if we were to get like I think with Division 1, we got 30 days early access for the expansions and things like that. And there were a few like DLC skins as far as like clothing items and weapon skins and stuff. So if they want to throw that into like the Game Pass perks or have something along those lines, that would be pretty cool. But once again, Xbox needs the marketing on the Division. I mean, 100%. Sony already has Destiny, so I mean, why not have Division?
And we have something to get into, folks. Funny you mentioned Destiny because you're talking about Bungie, who is an amazing developer. But my God, ladies and gentlemen, the salt has no levels. It's gone all the way up the line. Jim Ryan potentially in the hospital with an IV because what he said about the ABK deal is so full of shit that I can't begin to tell you. I'm going to read a quote where he actually said that for him, as a leader, the better deal on the table was Sony getting Bungie over Call of Duty. Okay, I'll read verbatim what he had to say. Just utter nonsense from Jim Ryan, who's known as Lying Jim Ryan. But we will get into that. Look, I'm gonna pull the Band-Aid right off. The deal is done, folks. Finally, after months and months and months and months and almost over a year and a half of going back and forth with blocked and not blocked, the deal is done. Okay, the CMA, their preliminary findings are that they approve the deal. October 6th is the deadline for anyone that has an issue. No one's going to have an issue with this deal. They've already gotten letters of approval from everybody, from here, there, and everywhere. the deal is done. It's going to probably be announced on the 6th, and running parallel to when the CMA approves it officially, or the next day the deal is done. We're probably going to hear something from everybody. You can hear something from Lulu. You can hear something from Bobby K. You can hear something from Phil Spencer. You're going to hear something from Satya Nadella, and of course everybody that's a part of Microsoft. But we're here to celebrate the news today, and of course I have a bunch of quotes. And this comes directly from the CMA folks. I'm going to read their presser. It says this: the CMA considers that the restructured deal makes important changes that substantially address the concerns it set out in relation to the original transaction earlier this year. In particular, the sale of Activision's cloud streaming rights to Ubisoft will prevent this important content, including games such as Call of Duty, Overwatch, and World of Warcraft, from coming under the control of Microsoft in relation to cloud gaming. Now, Sarah Cardell, who is the CEO of the CMA, said that although Microsoft had now made sufficient amends to the proposed deal, it would have been far better if Microsoft had put forward this restructure during the regulator's original investigation. That's where I call BS, because they never asked for this. And I think that, look, I'm still wearing my tinfoil hat. I think the CMA colluded with the FTC. I'm never going to change that. I think that the CMA was embarrassed multiple times, one of which with console SLC having to be reworked because their bean counters got the numbers wrong. Total embarrassment, gas face, if you will. And they got it wrong with cloud. This is their way of saying, we got it wrong. We don't want to admit it, but Microsoft needs this deal done, so we're gonna take our victory lap. You know what? Ugats. No one cares about your victory lap. You got it wrong. We all know that you got it wrong, but Microsoft now is even closer with Ubisoft. And this deal of cloud gaming that they're going to be running, and Microsoft is going to be running the PC and console aspect of it. It's a win-win-win for everyone. But you know something? Sure, Microsoft wins. Xbox wins. Ubisoft wins. The CMA wins. They look like they're the champions of justice. But you know what? F all of that, because none of that matters. You know who matters? We matter. The consumer, the gamer. We win, because your Xbox Game Pass subscription is now going to be worth triple of its current $16.99 a month. And that is what is important. I want to go first here we'll go first to Crispy Bomb. Crispy, let's talk about it. Again, we do have a lot of quotes to get into. I just wanted to read the Sarah Cardell one, what she had to say, and more importantly, the kind of backstepping she took. Oh, Microsoft should have come to this originally. We wouldn't have had a problem. I think that's falsities. I think no matter what Microsoft would have said, they would have blocked it because they were in cahoots with the FTC and Lena Khan. Let's get your hot take on the big news.
I will stand on that hill with you, Boom. We will stand hand in hand, because they could have literally just said, look, we are concerned about this to Microsoft, and Microsoft clearly, as they've already done, would have found a remedy for it and appeased them originally if they asked for it. So I think it was closed mouth, closed door, talking with the FTC to try to make sure that this doesn't happen at all, rather than doing this to begin with. So I'm with you. I call BS. At this point, it doesn't matter as much. I was even on the camp that maybe they're going to pull some shady stuff, and I will take that L. I take your L's when you say something that, it doesn't happen, but everybody's like, oh, well, they still have to hear from. Who are they going to hear from? They already signed an agreement with Sony. That was the biggest proponent against this. So I mean, some people, I'm just like, you make no sense right now. I mean, why would Sony keep fighting this now? They've signed an agreement, so it's done. You just need the finalization. But I was surprised it was this quickly. Everybody's like, "Oh, are they going to wait until the end?" And like right before, and then all of a sudden be like, "Nope, nope, we're taking it away." So it's good to see. It's good to see that they have woken up. If they want to take a victory lap, by all means. Also, I mean, you got to look at it this way. Gaming wise, it's going to help. Game Pass might be bolstered even more with this relationship with Ubisoft. Ubisoft is getting help because they're going to gain revenue from this. And we've seen that, Ubisoft hasn't been in a great place lately.
Yeah, this is a big deal. This is a really big deal. I'm glad you pointed it out because I really want you to drive that point home. They have not had a game release in quite a while. They've been struggling with their studios. They've canceled a ton of games in development. They've closed some studios. This is going to give them a revenue boost, and ultimately, this is a you helped me, you wash my back, I wash yours. Microsoft helping Ubisoft, Ubisoft helping Microsoft. Like I said to Fuzzy just a little while ago, I think this is going to bloom into some exclusive content for Game Pass. I think this is going to bloom into potential Game Pass drops. Like the next Splinter Cell could be a actual here's a bag of money, and we're Game Pass day and date. Who knows?
Yeah, and the one thing I want to also say is that a lot of these cloud providers who are going to have to work their thing out, that agreement is now going to be a part of what Ubisoft, and they're probably going to have to rework it slightly. I wouldn't doubt, but I mean, it's helping them. Like, yes, Microsoft has a big wallet. We all get it. People are like, "Oh, hate Microsoft. They have a big wallet." But when they're using it to help other companies, and yes, it's to get this done. I know that. But still, they could have been, those guys that are like, "No, we're not going to do these agreements. We're not going to do that. We're going to wait right until, they tell us no, and then we're going to change." They already started this way before the CMA even said no to begin with. So now they've just added another layer. And really, if you look at all of the commentary from the people that have signed the agreements with Microsoft, they said, this is going to help us. This is not going to hurt us. You have the big backer that's going to probably be able to make Call of Duty even better, maybe give it an extra year, things like that, because they have the big wallet to allow this to happen. And then you go and say, here, cloud guy, you get all these cloud providers, you get this. Ubisoft, you get this. You do your thing. We're fine with it. We're going to keep our console and on PC. There's a huge market there. We ultimately own all the IP and everything else. We can choose to, bring out old games that we haven't seen in years, and we can, make that a part of it. And that's going to bring in revenue to us, to you, to everybody. It is a hand-in-hand deal. That's where I say, like, the people that are like, "Oh, it's not done yet." I mean, who's going to say what now? I mean,
Yes.
what are you going to have?
I mean, Sony signed a 10-year deal. They were one of the. You know what's funny? There were 3 proponents to this deal that did not want to approve this. Nvidia was one of them. Guess what they did? They signed a 10-year deal, and you know what dropped on Nvidia? One of the biggest games of 2023. I don't know. What was that? Oh, that's right. Starfield is on Nvidia, playing over the cloud. And of course, PlayStation with Jim Ryan saying that this deal is bad. I want to block your merger. You know what they did? They got on their knees and they signed a 10-year deal. That's what they did because they knew that they were going to get L'd, right? And the other one, Google, because Stadia died. Well, their witness came on and said, "Well, no, wait a second. We're competing with those guys," when that's not what they originally said. So anyone that says this deal isn't done, you know what? Go to sleep. Take a couple. Go in your sleep chamber and wake up October 7th. What can I tell you? The deal is done. It's as clear as day. If you don't want to believe it, and you don't want to celebrate, I don't know.
And let me just double down on it real quick. who else is going to come out? Is it going to be Apple or Amazon? Are they not huge companies themselves?
Hello.
Are we supposed
Yeah.
to take them seriously? I
Did
mean,
Apple just not announce that you're going to be
come on.
playing AAA games on their phones, Crispy Bomb?
Yeah, dude. I was like, whoa, okay. And that really comes down to them going backwards and doing what they should have done to begin with and putting a USB-C in there. But that's besides the point. Sometimes the government does need to step in and be like, dude, this stupid lightning, freaking plug-in is stupid. And it doesn't go, it goes against everything else that's using USB. So change it. And they did. So, they didn't fight it, which, they shouldn't have done it to begin with. So let's be honest, they're just doing the right thing finally. And now, like, all of a sudden, there's this other element that people didn't even realize. Like, people are like, dude, I didn't even know this, so these are things that happen with competition. So that's all I'm going to say right now, but we got more to get into.
Oh, we absolutely do. We'll come back to you. Real quick, JCon79, welcome to the show, brother. He says, weren't you all doom and gloom on the initial block? Not on this channel, brother. Everyone on this panel will hold the line. Sure. Was it disappointing? Was it heartbreaking? Absolutely. Because like I said, as a consumer, I want my Game Pass subscription to be worth more money. Did anyone gloom and doom? Not on this channel, brother. Maybe some other channels, but we held the line. As a matter of fact, you know what? I received this. So I did hold the line. I have a coin to prove it. There you go. Xbox. Shout out to Ben Kenobi. I held the line and I got awarded for it. So there you go. Before we bring in Web Dave, let's let me see. Let me go into my messages here and let me pull up all the quotes.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's we're gonna get to the super chats. There's a lot of them. But you know what? Let me read Lulu Chang Maservi. Obviously, she has been front and center for the Xbox community, keeping us all abreast of the information. She's even been scandalous in some of her tweets, but this is why we love Lulu. And she tweeted this. The CMA's preliminary approval is great news for Activision Blizzard's future with Microsoft. We're glad that the CMA has responded positively to the solutions Microsoft has proposed, and together we'll continue to work towards completing the regulatory review process. Now, she also tweeted, Dave, Crispy and Fuzzy, internal email from Bobby Kotick to, of course, everyone at Activision Blizzard King. And I'm going to read that verbatim live on the air. And he says this: team, want to share an important update to our planned merger with Microsoft. Today, the UK regulatory authority, the CMA, issued a preliminary approval of our merger with Microsoft based on the solutions Microsoft presented in connection with the new merger application. This approval is critical to completing our merger. The next step is now for the CMA to gather third-party feedback, after which the CMA will reach its final decision. As I said when we announced this deal, this transaction will help us accelerate our ambitions for the future of gaming and enable us to better serve our players. Microsoft recognizes this commitment to excellence and creative independence that has served us well in the last 30 years. I'm confident that their resources, technology, and tools will provide us even greater opportunities to create even better games. This is a significant milestone for the merger and a testament to our solutions-oriented work with regulators. I remain optimistic as we continue the journey towards completion, and I am very grateful to each of you and your dedication and focus throughout this process. As the regulators continue their process, I will keep you updated on our progress towards our expected closing. With gratitude, Bobby K. Let's talk about it there, Dave.
Yes. Such a good day. Such a good time. So glad to be here and talk about this today. And one thing,
Welcome, Hargeet. Yeah.
Look who's coming on.
Hargeet with the
love it.
fireworks. I love it. This is good stuff.
I'll make this quick so we can get to Hargeet and get to Fuzzy. But one thing you said about the Ubisoft thing, you know, that really they needed that injection of revenue
Yep.
that this is going to provide, and it really opens the door
I
to
love
maybe
it.
some kind of exclusive,
Maybe, possibly, yeah.
maybe. But I guarantee you, they're going to have the funds to get it finished now. That's for sure. And
Indeed. Yep.
and another little thing that came to my mind was people are talking about, you know, like, well, with the cloud part, you know, once it goes into Game Pass, I mean, what are these other companies going to do? I mean, Sony can pay Ubisoft and have it available as a cloud part of their service
Yep.
if they wanted to, you know, like their
Sure.
higher tier, their cloud part. But do we really think Sony's going to pay any money for that?
No. No, they listen, Dave, we know for a fact, thanks to court documents, that Microsoft said, hey, you want Call of Duty day and date in your PlayStation network? You can have it. You know what Sony said? Nah, fam, it's too expensive. I ain't got that kind of loot.
Yeah.
So
It's yeah, there you go. It just comes back around, man. It's oh my gosh, this
glorious day for Xbox gamers, man. Like I
it
said,
is.
if
I
you
just want to pour salt all over myself. Whee! I'm sorry.
bathe
But
in that world, sir, don't bathe too much because you might have a heart attack from excitement. Don't do it.
I'll
Don't
take
do
my
it.
no salt pills. I promise. I promise.
Listen,
I'll keep
Fuzzy
yeah, go
and
ahead.
Hargeet Chani, we'll get to you in a second. I just want to catch up on Super Chats. There's been 10 of them, and I want to make sure that I read everyone. But again, thank you so much for the generosity, everyone. Drawn TJ drops the first one of the day of $5 and says, hell yeah, Division 3 and ABK finally approved. Now just need a Mecha Salt and Splinter Cell game. I love it. I love the greediness of it all. It's like I'm a greedy gamer too. Samurai S. Wow, brother. Good morning. Happy Friday. And thank you so much for the outstanding $20 super chat. He says, blessings to Lord Boomstick and the panel members on this glorious day. Blessings to you as well, brother. And thanks again for the generosity. Starfield Guy drops a very generous £2 super chat. And he says, Party Animals is phenomenal. Play it now. It is absolutely phenomenal. And the same way that Fall Guys took over social media, because Fall Guys is amazingly fun. I played it on PlayStation when it was an exclusive, and I played the heck out of it on Xbox. They've gotten a lot of money from me from buying different outfits and stuff. Party Animals is going to be that for Xbox, and I hope that stays as an exclusive, because obviously we know that Ori and the Blind Forest has 2 skins already. I would imagine you're going to see a Master Chief, you're going to see a Doom, you're going to see all this stuff. So it's pretty cool. RC Polygons drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, I'm happy that we're getting this ABK merger complete after over a year of ups and downs. Most important for me, Crash and Spyro are coming to Game Pass. Yeah, absolutely. Again, it's Toys for Bob, man. They're an amazing studio, and they will actually get back to making these types of games. Hopefully, in some, in some way, we see a revival of maybe Banjo-Kazooie and have them do it. That's my biggest excitement. Happy Hitman drops a very generous £2 super chat and says, any thoughts on Destin not covering Starfield? You mean that Hitman, I mean, you're talking about him reviewing it or covering? Because I think he has covered it enough, at least on his channel. The IGN thing, that's his parent company. That's his bread and butter. That's where he gets his check from. I mean, we know how that went. So I don't think he really had a choice in not reviewing it or covering it any more than he has. But I'm pretty sure that he's talked quite a bit about it. You drops a very generous £2 super chat and actually drops £2 super chat and says, the only downside is Xbox can't acquire Ubisoft for 10 years. But I don't think that they want to. Ubisoft has a lot of employees, man, and that would be a monster undertaking. Listen, they're going to be working side by side with them. I don't think that they need to acquire. To be quite fair, I honestly don't think they need to. This deal is going to be great for everyone, and I think there really is some behind the scenes stuff about exclusive content that was going to come to Xbox and Game Pass and PC Game Pass that you're not going to see on a Sony box. And I think that's how they're going to funnel people to their box. And I would not be surprised in the least that
It's
is
15 though, right? 15 years, I think. It's a 15-year deal.
Is it 15?
I think
Okay,
it's
It is a
okay.
15-year deal, but I
Okay.
believe the any part of either acquisition and
It's
or
10 years.
is 10 years on.
Yes.
I think it's they can purchase some stock. They just can't buy controlling stock.
Controlling stock. Yeah.
That's what it was for 10 years.
10 years. Yeah, I could have sworn I saw that in the write up today. But like I said, they don't need to. They really don't. There is so much work that you're going to see Microsoft doing once this ink dries, folks. You know, obviously, Crystal Dynamics was just hit with layoffs. Eidos Montreal is hit with layoffs. These are two studios that should be Xbox first party. They're currently working on two major franchises for Xbox. We know that Embracer Group is in a position right now where they're in a pickle financially. I think Microsoft needs to acquire them forthwith, and I think they could acquire both of them for under the 100 million threshold that requires FTC regulation. And if they can do that, they could buy them separately. That would be a big get, because, like I said, you know, we heard about WB potentially. I mean, Phil Spencer got the okay to go after WB from Satya Nadella and Amy Hood. So even though that didn't happen, who's to say it can happen? And, you know, maybe they buy WB and they buy DC and they let, you know, Discovery keep all the TV stuff. We don't know, but we know. I will tell you, for one thing, is absolutely for certain, this is not the last deal Microsoft is going to be involved with once this deal is done. I could tell you that. He drops an additional £2 super chat and says, "Will Xbox now go after CD, Eidos, Asobo, IOL?" Yes, I think they're absolutely going to go after all of them, because all of those studios and a few that you didn't mention, like Certain Affinity, they're all currently working on major IP. So that so if they did buy them and people wanted to, you know, fight about it, which would be ridiculous, it would be considered organic growth because they're working with them. So there you go. Suck it. You know what I'm saying? What can I say? Drawn TJ drops an additional $2 super chat, and he says, "It feels like Christmas. I'm giddy and happy." It absolutely does. That's very, very much Christmas feeling. Nightwolf 3186 drops a very generous $10 super chat and says, Elder Scrolls exclusive. The FTC leaks 10 million sold for Starfield. Tokyo Game Show. ABK approvals. What a crazy, awesome week of shows for Boom and Panel. Are you not entertained? Brother, thank you so much for that. And yes, there is a lot of entertainment to go around. Jax82 dropped a very generous $2 super chat and says, "I may need more storage for these ABK games." Yeah, indeed. Absolutely. But Fuzzy Belvedere, let's bring you in. You've heard what everyone had to say. I'll be reading some of the quotes. I want to read what Phil Spencer had to say on this, and we'll get to him in a second. But I mean, look, there's a lot to get into. Talk about it.
Man, it's been a long road, and I've had some money tied up in this ABK deal, so it's good that it finally gets some closure and stuff. But man, it's like one of the super chat said, it's like it feels like Christmas at this point. Like, this has been a pretty good week. I mean, I'm still playing the heck out of Starfield, so and I'm trying to get as much of that out of my system before Forza drops. So it's like nonstop. And to what you said earlier in the podcast, it's like, what's the news for Sony? Like, they did have that state of play, and we got to see some more of Spider-Man 2, but it's been news cycle after news cycle for Xbox, whether it's leaks or it's, you know, ABK or Tokyo Game Show. It's like, man, I think the big thing now is there going to be a timer on like who's placing bets on how fast Bobby's out the door? Is it 1 year, 2 years? Maybe is it months type of thing? We all know he gets his golden parachute, but finally they can make some real changes within the corporate structure over at ABK to hopefully prevent anything like that happening again, as far as like the Cosby Room or any of the other harassment and issues that they've had internally, and that the devs now have a little bit, more solid foundation as far as their corporate structure and stuff. So that's probably the main thing moving
And that's
forward.
one of the most important things is the human element, Fuzzy, that people like. I know that we're very narrow minded as gamers, right? Like we see the path. We want a game, we play the game, but a lot of the times, and I mean everybody, not just me, not just Hargeet, not just everybody on the panel in the chat. Sometimes we lose sight of the important things.
Yeah.
And I have been one of the few podcasters, and I'm very proud of this, that have put the human element forthwith in front. And that is the people. That is the people, the everyday people like us, human beings, that make these games, that have been unfortunately working under what a lot of people consider to be a tyrant in Bobby K. Okay? The guy is not a nice dude. I don't know him personally, but listen, we know what we know. It has come out. The threats, the death threats, the way that things are done, the way things were let to be done, and nothing was done about it. These people, meaning the developers and all the staffers, not just game developers, we're talking about people that deliver the mail, people that work within the offices of Activision Blizzard, have unfortunately been working under very hostile conditions. And now under Microsoft, that is going to change in a really, really, really big way. And I think that is incredibly important.
Yeah, it's finally coming to that light at the end of the tunnel kind of thing for that. But man, I think the big thing now is, like someone mentioned, having to have more storage space for their Series X or Series S. Yeah, it's time. Hopefully, there's a good sale this holiday on the expansion cards and stuff like that. But man, oh man, when all but this year's Call of Duty hits Game Pass, I think we might have to prepare ourselves for a server crash just because of the sheer number of people getting on there at that point. But I was saying by the end of this year, I figure Xbox will probably have 100 million subscribers for Game Pass, and that's to include the what do you call it, Xbox Live Gold conversions that were around 60 million paying customers at the time over to that Game Pass core, plus the 30 million or so that were already in Game Pass. So that's at least 90 million. And we don't know how many may have, signed up to play Starfield or sign up for Forza or sign up because now they hear, Call of Duties are coming to Game Pass. I think they're on to bigger and better things for from this point moving forward. But as a gamer, I don't think that there's any way you could spin that this is bad for gaming or bad for the consumer or anything along those lines. Like right now, it's going to be a nice option, because it is an option. If you don't want to have to, shell out cash to buy 7 of your most anticipated games a year, and they wind up being in Game Pass, there's a more affordable option. And that's the big thing that my wallet is looking forward to. But as a gamer, this is awesome week. ABK, man, who's next?
It's funny because with some of the conversation that came out of the Bethesda acquisition, literally the day after, they made that announcement. Yes, the deal has been signed. It's done. Their first party. The board was like, who's next? And I would imagine, look, when you have a service like Game Pass, and now Microsoft is going to be in possession of 34 internal studios, the most in gaming, literally the most in gaming. And that's named studio. So like a named studio may actually, like Infinity Ward has, they're Infinity Ward, but they have 5 studios of their own around the globe. On paper, it's going to say 34 named studios, but in reality, they're probably going to have closer to 60 actual game studios making games. And I'm going to be honest with you, I don't think that's enough for a service that is expected to have over 100 million subscribers and consistently put out content. Look, Hargeet, all you got to look at is the supposed cost of what it would cost Microsoft to get a Gotham Knights and all of these day and date games, they were upwards of 300 million, some of these games, right? Microsoft doesn't want to pay that. Microsoft wants to have so much content, Hargy, that they literally, like, people that are going to put games in the Game Pass are going to be games that people come to them. And now they're going to be able to dictate, okay, listen, we are going to pay this if you want it here. Rather than you like, well, you're desperate because you have nothing in 2022. So now we're going to get you, right?
Yep.
So, Hargy, let's talk about, and again, you weren't here moments ago. Someone basically didn't accuse, basically saying, like, where were you guys? You know, you were the gloom and doom guys. None of us were gloom and doom. We all knew that this was actually going to happen, and that Microsoft was on the right side of history through the whole thing, regardless of what the CMA says. Let's get your hot take, brother. Welcome.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for being here.
What a week, right? This is just crazy. It starts with all these leaks. We have like all this crazy stuff going on. In the middle of this, didn't like Spider-Man 2 have like a like some buzz going on? And that kind of just totally died out.
What are you talking about?
Like,
Who?
exactly.
What?
That expansion pack or something?
So big deal. I guess this is finally coming to closure. Wow, right? But yeah, I mean, like I knew that this was going to be a regulatory headache the second Lena Khan decided she was going to sue what was it? Was Meta with Within, I think was the company.
Yes.
And I'm like, dude, we're we're in for a ride. It's gonna be fun. Just take it. It is what it is. You're gonna have to go through a whole bunch of rigmarole, and then the CMA did their little cloud thing. I'm like, come on, this is hilarious. But whatever. I figured it would eventually end like this anyway, but it just took its time. It is what it is, right? And Microsoft is doing what Microsoft does. They have to go through all these rigmarole things, and they figure it out. So it's finally there. There's actually questions that it's done. I mean, it is done. It's done. It's done. It's done. This is gonna close like the second week of October. It's done. It's over. It's finally done. The Crystal Dynamics and Eidos thing. Wow, is that disappointing that they had to do the layoffs now? And
it's awful. Yeah.
I hope they're already in talks. Just like get those freaking studios already working on your games. Just go ahead and get those freaking studios. It just like bring them home, be done with it. Daryl's already over at the initiative. He might as well just have access to Crystal Dynamics. I mean,
that's his old team anyway, right?
It's his old team, right? And like, why not?
He knows everyone there.
Let's get it done. Right. But yeah, this has been a fun week. But like some of the nice little leaks that we got were, well, some of them are embarrassing, I guess, but a lot of them were pretty telling of what's out there and what's going on, right? And how aggressive they are and what they're looking to do. And it's great stuff. So I don't know. What was your original question? I kind of delved into like
no. I mean, just listen. We're shooting off the cup here now. Someone in the chat. I don't want to mention names because I don't know if he's being facetious or not. He says, "Wow, low energy podcast even on your big day." I hope you're joshing because we have been like through the roof exciting.
Going on.
You got fireworks. We got 800 people here in the chat. Hopefully we can hit 1K live on the air. That would be kind of dope. A couple new channel members, a lot of super chats. We'll get to those in a second. I will say that sure, Hargy, just responding to what you said about the leaks. Some of them I would imagine would be considered embarrassing, and certainly from a corporation point of view, not good. I'm going to tell you this though. If there was one thing I did pull away from those leaks is that Microsoft is in it. Like they are here for the long haul. The days and the years of Xbox has no games, that mantra has completely been swept away. I mean, look at Game Pass, folks. Sea of Stars started it on the 31st. And if you just look at from that game, which by the way is amazing, please download that game. Please go play. If you are an old school RPG bit kind of a gamer, it is right up your alley. I know that there's Starfield and there's so much to play, but it is such a great game. That started and it's not stopping. The amount of games that have come to the service have been nothing short
Yep.
of when the F am I going to have the time? Like, honestly.
Yep.
And of course, it continues. Like, okay, so maybe it ends with Forza because we're still unsure with what's happening in November. We have
Yep.
no idea with December. But I mean, Hargeet, I want to go to this because it's a possibility. Is there a world where this deal does get done second week of October and they somehow find a way to announce that, guess what? Sony walked away from their
Marketing,
deal, and the new Call of Duty is in Xbox Game Pass when it
would be
launches.
Killer. I don't know the
man.
answer to that, right? I mean, it is viable because Jim Ryan did say he didn't want to be a part of this.
Right.
If it's a Microsoft property, why would they, expend their funds to market a game that's Microsoft? Like, let them do that, right? And it's fair. It's a fair point. But it does make this whole thing very interesting, right? It started as it is. It's supposed to be marketed by Sony. It's still currently marketed by Sony. They get the perks. That's still been the case, right? But now this merger will finally close. It is very possible that they've worked that deal. We haven't seen anything yet, but it is possible that it does actually nullify their marketing thing and any block from, because if you're going to do it, you might as well ask, well, can I just put my game in Game Pass then? Like, I want to be able to freaking do what I should be able to do, right? And if nothing else, you should expect to see all those 360 games that were taken off. They're coming to Game Pass, right? They're going to come to Game Pass. So that's going to happen pretty fast. They're coming to Game Pass. And then I hope it does happen. Modern Warfare 3 comes out and it just goes directly day and date. Oh my God.
That would be,
I mean, so cool.
Like when I say, because I'm an ice cream sundae kind of a guy, right? So I always ask for whipped cream and a cherry on top, right? Because that's, why wouldn't I? I'm sorry. Listen, if I go tomorrow, I want to at least say I had a sundae with ice cream that I liked and with, topped with whipped cream and a cherry. So what?
Yep.
You know what Call of Duty would be? You go to Carvel and you say, can I have my sundae? And they go and they give it to you. And you say, wait, hold on a second. You're missing the cherry on top. And they take the entire jar and they throw it on your thing. And you walk away and you're like, I don't even know what I'm going to do. I'm going to have a sugar attack.
Crazy.
That's what Call of Duty would be to close out the year for Xbox Game Pass. If it happens. Now,
if it can happen, it would be crazy.
It would just... It would
put
Sony in a pickle. I'll say that.
Oh, the meltdowns.
No matter what happens, though, there's going to be a bunch of these games coming to Game Pass. You're going to have all sorts of things to play, right? There's Crash Team Racing. Did that come out this year? I think that'll probably come in, right? There's a whole bunch of other games. There's all sorts of games that'll suddenly be coming to Game Pass. It'll take some time, as Phil mentioned, especially on the PC side. It'll take a little bit of time, but it will start pouring in. You will just get a whole bunch of things. TGS, I know a lot of people probably don't like a lot of those games. I do. There's 2 Yakuza games coming to Game Pass. Hell yeah. Right? Waiting for Sega to be bought.
Hello, Sega.
But anyway.
Where's Everborn?
I know. Say Sega 3 times like Candyman and he'll show up.
But yeah, I mean, the excitement levels for this are going to be crazy when it actually finally happens. Waiting for that nice little round table, right? With all these leaders at ABK. Yes, there is the thing of what happens to Bobby. He's going to be around for a bit. I don't think he's going to go.
I would say a couple of months, but potentially into the end of the year. Maybe even into the new year. Yeah, I would imagine. But he's going to go.
He's going to be there for a little bit, and then they'll take over the reins. I don't know who's taking over. Maybe it's somebody inside ABK. Maybe it's somebody outside ABK. But they have some work to do there to clean up the what would you call it? The ambiance or the whatever as far as their culture. That they have, right? Obviously, that's going to be something they have to clean up. The crunch, that's going to go away. That's going to be a big deal, right? So, from an employee perspective, right? Those people have got to be feeling like, right? Like, hey, finally, this is happening.
Yabara said party time, just to let you know. And he worked for
Is that what he said? He said party time? That's such a Yabara thing. I love that dude.
But it's hopefully this will be great for them as well. Like, we'll see how they integrate, and over time, it's probably going to take a year or two for them to kind of totally get into the Microsoft culture. But I think the core things of no crunch and all that will come pretty much immediately. which is going to be interesting to see how they do on releases, because they've been under this, tyrant mentality of, you will release this freaking fall. That's the way it is. I don't care. You have no life. You will do what I tell you. You will live in the office. Like, that's going to go away, right? They're going to have work-life balance. So we'll see what that means, right? There's also just the, hey, we want studios to go make games. Like, we don't need just Call of Duty. We want other stuff. That's at least what Phil wants to do. From the leaks, what was interesting was the profit levels of Sony are the least of the platforms, which I found hilarious.
I have that in front of me. You know, it's funny. We're going to get into that in a second, because that apparently set off people's salt levels to a point where emergency rooms were filled with Sony players. Like, they would lined up in the emergency room because they were having heart attacks.
Colin Moriarty, who keeps calling out, Game Pass can't be profitable. Microsoft has to be losing money. Well, where are you at, buddy? I guess Microsoft's making more than my precious Sony. Oh, well.
You know, it's funny when you say My Precious Sony, I thought My Little Pony. I don't know why that sounded so familiar. I don't know why. My Little Pony, My Precious Sony. I don't know. It kind of works. Am I crazy? Look, speaking of ponies, the biggest one of the bunch happens to be Jim Ryan, and I have a quote from him. Now, folks, I'm not making this up. I'm literally reading what he said verbatim to a question when asked about the Activision Blizzard thing. Get ready, folks. Get ready for ridiculousness. So while he was interviewed, he was asked this particular question. Did you look at Activision as a target? Was it too big to buy? And this is what he responded. And like I said, folks, I'm not making this stuff up. I'm literally reading verbatim. We know Activision extremely well. They are probably one of our principal partners in terms of deployment of Sony's capital. When you look at a $69 billion for Activision compared to the $3.6 billion for Bungie, we believe that Bungie can give us way more than a $69 billion acquisition of Activision, and that's before considering the relative value of that particular transaction. Like, I'm sorry. Are we joking? Was he drunk when he actually answered this question? I want to read that. I want to read that hard, and I want you to respond to this, Hargeet. I'll go in reverse order. Okay, let me find it. In terms of deployment of Sony's capital, which means that they can't afford ABK. Let's call a spade a spade. Yeah. When you look at the $69 billion for Activision compared to the $3.6 billion for Bungie, we believe that Bungie can give us way more. Okay, sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure they're the equivalent of Blizzard on PC. I'm sure they're the equivalent of King on mobile. Good luck.
Good luck with that, pal. Yeah,
close. And Call of Duty is Call of Duty. Even with Destiny doing extremely well, it has not.
Destiny's a great game, and Bungie's an amazing developer. They're fantastic.
Absolutely. And they made Xbox what it is. That's just
indeed they have.
Facts.
Yes,
but come on, are you kidding me? Now look, I understand you can't spend as much. But don't freaking play stupidity mode. You would buy Activision if you had the capital. That's just
they would have made it exclusive.
Exactly.
There's no doubt about it.
And you also need to expand on your mobile, which you started to do. You need to expand in PC, which you started to do. And don't tell me you wouldn't jump at the opportunity to buy Blizzard of all companies when it comes to PC content, and King, which is like literally the king on the mobile side. Are you kidding me? Of course you would. Of course you would. You just can't afford it. Deal with it. Nice try, but that's baloney. I like how Bungie came in and told your top dog, Naughty Dog, that your shit ain't shit. Go away. You can't
take your factions too and put it in the grinder because it sucks.
So that's what you bought them for. All right. I'm sure they're making you a lot of money. That's great. Awesome. You have to scrap 3 years of work.
Yeah,
sure. I wonder how that's going to work for the next studio and the next studio. We'll see how it goes, bud. But yeah, I did find that profitability thing just hilarious. And I love how Nintendo makes as much profit as their competitors combined. I love it.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous that he would say that with a straight face, but it's fine. It's fine, whatever.
Ah, man.
Crispy Bomb, let's get your salty, bombastic take on Jim Ryan's response that he feels that the $3.6 billion that they spent was much better than $69 billion, and that Bungie's going to be a better suit than the, I don't know, Call of Duty developers or everyone else that's going to come along. Oh man, probably not a good time to lie some more because that guy's been in witness protection for quite some time. But okay, whatever. Let's talk about it.
Didn't the person asking the question ask for a yes or no question? Or answer, I mean.
It sounded like it was a yes or no question. That is true, yes.
And so is Jim Ryan a politician now? Because this is what I see from politicians. I mean, let's beat around the bush, act like we did something that we thought was right, even though we couldn't afford it to begin with. I don't know. Sounds pretty interesting to me. Sounds like the liar continues to lie. If you had the money, you would have at least bid on Activision Blizzard. Would you have not? I mean, I'm going to be honest right now and straight up. The CMA and all these regulatories forgot about one aspect. That is the mobile aspect. And if you ignore the fact that Bethesda makes mobile games, okay? A lot of people forget that, and they're actually highly successful. Fallout Shelter still exists right now, okay? You have a basically a Skyrim mobile game, and then on top of that, now you're going to have Candy Crush and whatever else they're going to put out. Call of Duty Mobile. That's actually a big deal, by the way. I think Microsoft's going to end up looking at this and being like, yeah, we'll take the hit on the cloud. I'm good with it. Because what do they have always said? We want to reach billions of gamers. And around the world, it is not a console. It is not a PC. It is a cell phone, people. And this is why Apple, maybe they said, you know what? There is something there with going to USB-C because we can use the power of our little tiny PC that we have in our hands because that's really what we have now. I mean, yes, I'm old school. I grew up with nothing. I grew up with playing Snake on my phone. There you go. Okay. So now we have this little tiny PC, but hey, it can run games pretty darn good. So this is like Apple's like slight little way to say, hey, we're going to get into the gaming market a bit. They just have to open up their doors and say, you know what? Game Pass, you can be on here. That will sell our phones. We're a hardware company at the end of the day. I mean, they have good software, but really everybody looks at them and says they want to sell their hardware. And that's the same thing PlayStation does. But PlayStation refuses to open up. They refuse to say, hey, you know what? We will buy, to have Call of Duty in our service day and date because Microsoft already offered that. See, here's the thing about those damn leaks. Do you know what you can't say anymore? Microsoft isn't transparent because they are. Those leaks, yes, they hurt, but I almost feel like they're like, you know what? This is going to happen, and let's do it a week before or days before and screw up, quote unquote, and throw this right out to the ether and say, people, this is what it is. And you know what? I haven't seen enough hate about it. I mean, them wanting to buy Nintendo, we see the profitability of Nintendo. Why wouldn't they? But after all of this with the regulatory just to get Activision, I think it would be a big problem. And I would say, this is the difference. This is where people say, oh, you guys are saying, no, they shouldn't buy Nintendo. It should be against the rules, okay? Unless
it would be they couldn't anyway because they have a console, so it would be considered a horizontal rather than a vertical. So there's no way that it would go through.
That was what he was saying, by the way. Was the email was that it's awesome. I would love to buy it. It's just not going to happen. It's not a
and,
viable
and
option.
that's what I'm saying. Like, yes,
The
they have
context
the
was removed.
they have the wallet, they have all of that. They could do what they want, but it seems like they are only going after companies as of now that are hurting. I mean, let's be
Yes.
honest. Like the
Smart
Crystal D,
business play.
Idios, you know what I mean? Like if that happens, you know, and all of a sudden they say, okay, like these people are still laid off or whatever, let's hire them back, and they bring them back in. I mean, I look at the worker and I say, like, when I see Ybarra say what he said, it's like they have been waiting for this to
Indeed.
actually happen. You know what I'm saying? They've been sticking around because they know their life could be a little better. They can make what they make or even more and be there and not hate their job sometimes. Instead, love the fact that they are a gaming developer and they do the things the right way. These are all things. And Jim's just sitting here like, well, yeah, we're great for Bungie, but I mean, Bungie plays hardball, baby, and that's what we love about them.
Yes.
You know what I mean? They bounce from Activision. They bounce from this. They bounce from that. There's a clause in there. They could bounce from Sony whenever they want. I guarantee it is.
Yeah,
You
they
just
have
gotta
an
go
out.
through the
There's no doubt about
documents.
it. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, you know, Bungie, that's the way they are. And they're telling you how it is. They know how to build a gas game. Okay. They do. Now, yes, it starts off kind of meh, but people are enveloped in their worlds. They do a good job of that stuff. So, like when Sony's conceding immediately, when we've been waiting, you know, people have been waiting for factions forever. Me, I just said, can I have, you know, some multiplayer with a single player? Like, you know, can you release a game like Gears? Can you release a game like Halo? You know what I'm saying? Like, I just don't see it anymore. I saw it when SOCOM came out. You know, what happened? You know what I mean? So that's what I look at. And this is going to force Sony and possibly, you know, Bungie's going to take the reins on some of this to release some games that have, you know, a really good single player story and good multiplayer. But that's competition, people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And for his denial to say that he wouldn't buy Activision if he had the money in this weird facetious way is funny to me. It's like I'm listening to a politician. So yeah, take the L, Jim, and you know, outright say, you know, congratulations when it was full final. Say congratulations like Phil would to you guys.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Listen, I want to pause the footage because I'm sorry that I was laughing live on the air. Someone put something on TikTok that they put it on Twitter, and it's the funniest effing thing I've ever seen. And it doesn't. He doesn't say anything. It's what he does about the merger that is. You guys, everyone in the chat. Which, by the way, we have 850 people here. Hold on.
Let's see it.
A second. Let me just. Oh my God. The guy on Twitter's name is El Gamer Informando. And this is what he did. This is what he did. Hold on a second. Watch. Just watch with me, folks. Here we go. It's so good. Oh my God. I love it. I love it. I love it so much, folks. I want to watch it again. Watch what he does with the PlayStation controller. Look at this.
I think you can click the corner and enlarge it.
Could I do that? Let's see. Oh, you know what? Let me enlarge it on the other screen sharing.
Yeah. Yeah, right there.
Yeah. Nope.
Nope. All the way over to the. There you go. There you go.
Funny stuff. Look, at the end of the day, folks, this is a very exciting time. Like I said, from a consumer point of view, like I said, I couldn't be happier because, like I said, the whole point of Xbox becoming a major player in in gaming that's no longer going to take a back seat to Sony and Nintendo is they needed to do something different. Fuzzy, they needed to make gaming more affordable. They wanted to reach, and we talked about this many times, Fuzzy, about Phil saying that they want to reach 3 billion gamers. Remember, people clowned him for this because they didn't know what he knew. They didn't understand what he wanted to do, what his vision was. And now we all know what his vision is. And when you consider Xbox and you consider PC and now you consider mobile being a major part, he has a chance to do that. Let's let's continue the conversation. Now, obviously, Jim Ryan is, he's sour grapes.
Yeah.
What he had to say is preposterous. It really is. And again, I understand, folks. No shine away from Bungie. That studio is responsible for putting Xbox on the map with Halo Combat Evolved. That's a fact. They released amazing they took a franchise that was originally going to be an Apple exclusive, if you remember back in the days. And Microsoft said, nope, Xbox. And here we are, Master Chief, Cortana, everything about Halo that we know and love. So no shine away from Bungie. But I mean, to say publicly that they're a better get than ABK, I mean, I get it. That you have to be front facing and say that, but come on, man, you look like a boob. Sorry.
Well, it comes down to the limit of his pocketbook. I mean, for the most part, the ABK would not be a remotely possible, thing without overextending loans. And even then, I don't think they would be able to, sell assets enough to be able to acquire them. It would almost be more like a partnership, or maybe even ABK raising funding to take over Sony. But that's a whole nother deal there. The grand scheme of things, Jim Ryan is called lying, crying, dance moves Jim Ryan for a reason. And to say that, it was a bigger get, maybe Bungie was a bigger get for them because their biggest gap was multiplayer and games as a service. So Bungie's going to help them with that. But Bungie's also helping kill off some of their franchises that people have been anxiously waiting for, and doesn't look like it made the cut. But, as far as what Phil's doing and his overall vision, like the biggest thing, and it comes down to the, King's saying with hold the line. It's like, given all the moves he's made, yeah, there have been some bumps in the road, some potholes here and there, but all in all, everything has been moving towards the goal of not just the 3 billion gamers, but also making sure that Xbox is sustainable, making sure that gamers have access to their libraries as far as, when it comes to the preservation of gaming and things along those lines. He's also trying to make it where it's more accessible as far as affordability, as well as, accessibility features for those that may not be as capable. So they've come out with the controller. They've come out with, having their studios put a lot of effort into making their games accessible. But this Jim Ryan now, I'm kind of wondering how long he's going to be in this seat. Now, yes, he's helped PlayStation sell a ton of PlayStation 5s this generation. And there was a bit of pent-up demand when they had issues with supply and stuff like that. But I think when we look back, even today, I know a lot of PlayStation, I like to refer to them as PlayStation only fans. They look back at Sean Layden glowingly as far as his leadership when it came to the games and just the overall presence for PlayStation. And with Jim Ryan, it's like they're kind of like they're only cheering him on because he's there and it's their preferred brand. But I think it's going to come down to, is he going to be there next year, or is he going to be there in 2 years? My guess is he might not be there in 2 years. Yeah, he definitely delivered as far as for the European region, or for Europe, as far as their numbers and sales and things like that, getting the brand to sell a lot of the consoles. But you've seen in their quarterly reports that they're not selling the software quite like they should. And, somebody that's in third place is, having more profits than them.
Yep.
It's kind of like a strain. This is like Sony in a different space in comparison. And I know a lot of PlayStation cats were always about, Xbox should compete. They should use their Microsoft wallet. And then when Microsoft finally does that, it's like, oh no, not like this type of thing. But yeah, Jim Ryan being dishonest as far as not wouldn't acquire ABK over Bungie if given the move. It's like, yeah, considering the wallet, but I think we'll see how long he lasts in that position. And I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people out there that would be like, if Sean Layden was in this position I think everything would have gone a lot differently. Like I think Sean
There's
Layden would
no
have probably.
doubt. I think you're really. No one ever mentions that. I'm glad that you did, because I think that we all know the relationship that Phil Spencer had with Sean Layden. They were a very, very open door kind of relationship, and I agree with you. I think that for the betterment of gaming, meaning like an overall, lifeline to gaming itself. First of all, if you are anti-merger, I understand your fear, because nobody wants a total of 5 entities controlling the world. I totally get that, but consolidation unfortunately is a necessary evil, especially when you consider how expensive it is to do basically anything. So these smaller companies, instead of seeing layoffs from Eidos and from Crystal D, if they're under the slate of something like a Microsoft, you won't get those layoffs. Now, has there been layoffs at Microsoft? Sure, but we also got to remember during COVID, they were one of the companies that hired the most, right? They hired the most people. So when COVID finally stopped and everyone's getting back to normal, you have all this excess people working. That's how layoffs happen. Layoffs suck. I don't care what area of or what field of work that you're in. Layoffs are terrible. I would never get behind laying off anyone, but it's consolidation is a thing, and this is ultimately this is going to be great for the paying customer who's an Xbox consumer. But please continue.
Yeah, the big thing is now Game Pass. If you thought it was a value to prior to all this, and now it's going to be even greater value. They finally got the cadence is starting to show place as far as we'll probably get a game a quarter as far as a major AAA from first party, as well as a lot of their smaller experienced ones in between there, plus some third parties day and date. Now we have a new publisher within the fold that a lot of their back catalog will be added in there. So I would say for anybody that wants to have a hobby or get into the gaming recreation, I mean, it can be an expensive one, but this definitely makes it a little bit easier for those to get into it. Like I remember the days growing up where it was like, you might get a game for your birthday, you might get a game for Christmas, and anything else, that was it, unless you saved up your allowance or you were working or something along those lines. And now you have, for what would be about the same amount of money, those kids would be able to grow up having access to like 300 games. Now, my kids themselves, when they were little guys and stuff, they would play a game for 15 minutes or maybe 2 days, and then they would never pick it up again. So me spending 30, 40, 50, $60 on a game was annoying. It's like, oh yeah, I got you that game. What do you think of it? Oh, I stopped playing that yesterday. I'm like, wait, what? So now having something where they can kind of jump from game to game to game, it's awesome, and I don't have to worry about shelling out hundreds of dollars and whatnot. I mean, they're older now, they're working now, so now they start to see where it's like, oh crap, $60 a game. Oh, let me move over to PC. Dad helped me get the PC, and games are a little bit cheaper there. But now they're even like, yeah, I gotta wait for the sale. This $50 game needs to be $15 for me to pick it up, kind of thing. So
yeah,
this is Game Pass PC, Game Pass in general. Just this whole approach is a godsend as far as for those wanting to get into the hobby without having, to break the bank basically. And, what a great way to go about it. But it's awesome to see. Phil, got to give him his flowers for everything he's done and how he stuck through this. And it's just amazing how, he had this vision from when the ship was sinking and the house was on fire, and he was kind of thrown into the mix, and it's like, all right, how do we fix this? And it was like he was in like a 10-foot hole and dug his way out, halfway before the end of the Xbox One generation. And now he's finally starting to get, towards the top of the mountain type of deal. So it's great to see. Let's see how this 2024 and beyond goes. But man,
it's going to be very exciting. I'll tell you that right now for sure. Dave, I know you said you sent what Phil Spencer recently just said. I don't see it, so just drop it into the private. Where did you send it?
I put it in the Breakfast with
DM?
Boom. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'll head over there now. Before I get to you, brother, let me catch up on the super chats. It's been quite a bit of them. We have a new channel member, Moby. Welcome to the channel, brother. Thank you so much for the generosity. We have Highlander 001 asks a question. Hargeet, I think you might be able to answer this better than I could. He says, "Good morning, Boom and panel. What is stopping Sony from acquiring Ubisoft? What happens if Sony does acquire Ubisoft? Does that mean ABK games go on to the PS5?"
Nope, because it's only for cloud streaming. But first, buying Ubisoft for PlayStation is going to be a tough sell to begin with, because they
Right.
already are a massive leader in Europe. Not to mention, there's always the problem with Japan. They have a 98% market share. But forget that part of it. I think the contracts make it very hard to do. Right, Tencent owns a big chunk of them. And then Microsoft now has a massive agreement that the regulatory agencies are going to say, well, we don't want to have any conflicts here. So
Right.
as a separate platform holder, I just think they're going to balk at anything like that and say, yeah, no. Right. If it was merging with, say, like Take-Two, that might be okay. Right. But if it's going to be a competitor of Microsoft, I think they're going to balk. It's because it complicates the hell out of that agreement. And, yes, they could try to make concessions, but ultimately Microsoft could say, nope, we don't like it, because
Yeah.
there's way too much of a competitive disadvantage now, and they could start raising the prices and start making it very hard for us to even put cloud gaming on our side. We're not interested. We want a separate, like you guys wanted, a separate neutral third party that's going to arbitrate this. That was what you wanted. We were okay with that. If you're going to have a separate competitor of ours come in and do that, well, that's going to be a major. So Microsoft also gets to say no, right? They can
Right.
come in like Sony did and say, no. We're not going to allow that. We had all these agreements with you. We're not doing this, right? So it's a hard sell to have you. I think
It
Ubisoft's
almost
off the
be
market.
impossible, I would
I
dare
think they're
say.
off the market for the next 10 to 15 years. I think they're off the market. I wouldn't even think about that. It's just they have to kind of sustain themselves somehow.
Yeah.
I could see a merger with somebody like a Take-Two, maybe an EA or something like that, but I don't see it being a platform holder. If Nintendo tried to get him, if Sony tried to get, yeah, good luck, right? I don't think that would be a viable thing. It would be way too much of a regulatory headache.
Yeah, it would be a nightmare. So thank you so much
Yeah.
for the clarification. The Failed Wizard drops a very generous $5 super chat. Love the name. It says, "Happy Friday, Boom and panel. Thanks for the in-flight entertainment on my way home to Dallas. The future is bright for Xbox, and I'm here for it, brother. Be safe, enjoy safe travels, and thank you for listening to the show." Drawn TJ drops an additional $5 super chat and says, "But buy Valve, but do it at first buy WB and Sega, all small studios they're working with. Buy Gearbox and Crytek, and then be done." It's a greedy gamer. I love it. I just love the greediness of it all. Listen, it is what it is. They're not stopping. This is going to go down as the biggest deal in history. I don't think they're going to replicate it, but I think that you're going to see a lot of smaller studios come over, and I do think eventually a Sega deal of some sorts where maybe they don't actually acquire them, but they do an investment into the actual brand, maybe like a 49% investment, injection of lots of millions and potentially billions of dollars that Microsoft would invest, and of course they would have controlling opinions on the games of the IPs. That's what they would want. They're working close with Sega now. I mean, just look at what's coming to Xbox Game Pass from some of the Sega studios. That's all you have to look and say, that there is a working relationship there. Highlander 001 drops an additional $2 super chat and says, "Welcome back, to Microsoft, Mike Ybarra." That's funny. Yeah, even head of the former head of the Gears studio is going to be joining Xbox once again, which is awesome. John Wolf drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, Don't make Phil get the chancleta. Have a great day." Yeah, obviously you don't want that, because my mother was good with that. She threw it good. And I only people that are involved in the Spanish culture understand what the chancleta means, and it's usually not good. It's usually upside your head, and somehow it goes right back to your mother's hand. And John Wolf knows exactly what I'm talking about. Trell Roberts drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, "Master Chief in Call of Duty." Yes, sir. Did you guys see all those characters coming to Call of Duty? Spawn, Doom Guy, I mean, like Ash from Evil Dead. Yes and yes. I'll be playing that, and I don't really play multiplayer games. RC Polygons drops an additional $5 super chat and says, I think Bobby will stay for a few months, then go away quietly without nobody noticing when Xbox advertises ABK games into Xbox Game Pass and new games. He's going to hang around just for the new person to, beseat him, if you will. I don't see him hanging around much longer, just for transitional purposes. Outside of that, he's going to be gone. Gamers Play HUD Zero drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, "Oh, what a glorious morning! This is now Xbox's time. Come all ye gamers, eat, drink, and be merry. Welcome to the Xbox World Order. ABK will now be our brother, indeed." Jacob Novik drops a $2 super chat and says, "Sony refuses to change. They will be in third place." Well, they are actually in third place in regards to profitable revenue, but don't say that too loudly because you may set some people off. Spartan661 drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, "No offense to Bungie, but Jim, to let you know that they are sloppy thirds." Trell Roberts drops an additional $2 super chat and says, "Microsoft is going to be a beast. Indeed, they are." An Ancient One drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, "Deny, cry, cope, rinse, repeat. A PlayStation fanboy's tale." I think that's a scandal. The scandalous comment. I love it. Ancient One, welcome to the program. Dave, what are your response to Ancient One's deny, cry, cope, rinse, and repeat?
Well, I just
Is that
got
what's going on with Jim Ryan right now, sir?
It may be that and Dreamcast guy saying that it's all over. But
Dreamcast guy, good on him.
Yeah, he was like, it's blocked, it's done, it's all over, forget it.
I remember that stream.
Yeah,
Ridiculous.
yeah. Didn't age so well, did it? No.
Yeah, he's probably gone into witness protection himself as well. You're going to see a lot of these witness protection MFs all over the place, hiding and crying and lying and doing what they do best.
Yeah, and not to, I mean, not, but it's so predictable. You know what they're going to do. They're just, but that's okay, because in the end, this is inevitable. We called it from the beginning. We knew this was going to happen. We knew it was going to get done, and it's getting done. Yeah, granted, there's still a few more little hurdles, but one of the nice hurdles to think about there, Boom, is the date of the 6th that they say everything should be finally done, kind of thing. Right. That's a Friday breakfast with Boom time.
Oh, what do you know about that?
Yeah.
What a coinky dink. Hey,
have
real
a big
quick,
old stacked panel that day.
We just learned some new information. Quan the Terrible has informed us that his PC is liquid cooled by pony tears. That is, how did you get that to work? How did you get that to work, kind sir? I did not know that.
Salute to that comment.
Such an abundance.
Really, really good stuff right there. Highlander 001 drops an additional $2 super chat and says, "Can Microsoft acquire Valve, or is that too much?" I think that would be too much, honestly.
Yeah, it would be.
Because they're PC, right?
But it could be done, but
tough.
it would be a lot of structural things they'd have to work out because of the fact that it's the biggest store on Windows.
Absolutely would.
Yeah, it's still, I do believe, but it's a tough one.
That Gabe at the end, when he's ready to retire and walk away, he probably would prefer
Microsoft
that, like, Phil Spencer be the steward of that. Yeah. You know what I mean? I think Microsoft would be good for that. But we see what happens.
They'd have to start working that now by putting their games on other stores. So Microsoft would have to start using the Epic Store or other stores along with Steam, which they're not doing. I don't think they put their games on Epic. They should. And if they put them everywhere, then they could start working into the potential to do that, because I think it's over 50% of the gaming revenue on Microsoft on Windows. It's Steam, right? It's a huge chunk. Microsoft Store, of course, is useless, but as far as there's also the thing that they have the Steam Deck. It's on Linux. they've been pushing that OS.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so they'd have to make some real concessions and make it structural in a way that the CMA would approve it. I think the EU would be okay with it. FTC probably wouldn't have any issue with it. Well, outside of Lena Khan.
It's
Right.
true. Well, they'll be under new management.
But I think the
soon
CMA
enough.
would have some issues with it because they don't like behavioral remedies. They want structurally that you can't do something wrong and we don't have to go look after you. Right. So it's a tough one, but it can be done. They'd have to start working it now to start saying we're going to make sure we're everywhere and that would not make it too big, right? So that we're still spreading ourselves on all the other stores, right? So that we're not causing the headache. But yeah, it's an interesting one though, because to your point, if Gabe had to give it to somebody, like that's probably the right place. If people don't know, Gabe Newell is a Microsoft millionaire. He was like one of the first
sure is.
employees. Right, he came in, he dropped out of Harvard and joined Microsoft when it was forming, right, and he was doing a lot of the work with Windows when it was starting up, right. So he's definitely very familiar with Microsoft and the deep roots, right.
And him and Phil have a really great relationship. I mean, they literally communicate pretty much on a daily basis from the way Phil's talked about it, and Gabe too. So that's important when you're talking about these kind of future deals and future things to happen, because if somebody doesn't like you, they're not probably going to work with you, or really give you the opportunity to. But getting back to the to this deal being finished, I mean, it's so close to being done, but we know that it's coming. That there's going to be at some point the deal's done. Microsoft is going to have some kind of meeting, some kind of special show or event that'll probably, hit us out of nowhere when it does happen, like they did with Bethesda, I'm waiting for this.
This is about delivering great exclusive games for you that ship on platforms where Game Pass exists.
Oh yeah,
except for Call of Duty.
But even then, eventually Call of Duty will be on Game Pass. Eventually.
Yes, that's true.
Maybe even this November. Maybe even this November. And like I said, I don't. That would be pretty ridiculous. SSMUFC says Uncle Phil just unlocked a common item: pony tears. Interesting. Thanaros, who's been a channel member for 47 months, brother. Thank you for the continued support. He says TGIF. Indeed. Thank goodness it is Friday. The weekend is upon us. And what a way to start off a Friday morning. Listen, because we have half an hour left, we want to get everybody here out on time. We are going to talk about the Division 3. We're going to get everyone's hot take. I do want to thanks to, of course, Web Dave, read the report from Tom Warren. He actually has the internal email from Phil Spencer, who has, of course, responded. And this is his internal email to Xbox employees. And he says this, folks. I have an encouraging update to share about our proposed acquisition of Activision Blizzard. Today, the UK CMA provisionally concluded that the solutions we have offered to address its concerns about the impact of the acquisition on future competition in cloud gaming streaming are acceptable. This is a positive development and a welcome indicator that our hard work is bringing us closer to our goal. Prior to making its final decision on whether to clear the transaction, the CMA is soliciting feedback from the industry and the public. During this time, we will continue to work towards addressing any remaining concerns and earning approval to close. We continue to work towards concluding this process by October 18th deadline, and we'll share more information as we get it. Thanks to everyone whose ongoing efforts have brought us to this point. Your hard work and dedication is very much appreciated, Phil. So there you go, folks. That is Phil Spencer, head of Microsoft Gaming. That is his response. Guys, I'm going to go around the table here. We'll start first with, of course, Hargeet. Division 3. This is a really big deal. Now, we had talked moments ago about potential exclusivity coming down the way of this deal between Ubisoft having the cloud rights for... Now, again, I'm not suggesting that everything is going to be exclusive. The next Assassin's Creeds are going to be multi-plat. But it's I would say, it's Hargeet, is it safe to assume that with this deal, there is going to come something is going to happen on the back end? Division 3 happening. It's like I said, it's really interesting that this was confirmed just yesterday on the heels, folks. This is conspiracy time, right? They've been hurting for money. They've closed studios. They've shut down games. They've had massive layoffs. But now the deal is coming to a close. Ubisoft is going to be handling all of the cloud streaming business for Microsoft, and the Division 3 gets announced. This is, again, you can take it for being singularity, things happening, but it's too much of a coincidence. Let's get your take on the Division 3.
Yeah, I mean, good. I like Division 2. I think I played a bit of Division 1. I don't think I finished that one, but Division 2 is pretty good. And hopefully this just does more of the same, I suppose, by and update some things that they should, right? But if it's a good one that they're putting together, great. I think this is the same team, but they're trying to expand that team. And I think they're working on like the Star Wars game, and like they're doing something else as well. I hope they're not spreading themselves too thin, right? But we'll see what happens, right? But yeah, it is an interesting thing that just kind of randomly they just decide to announce this, right? They had their Ubisoft showcase, in June. They could have announced it there. They, there was Gamescom. They didn't announce it there, and just randomly they announced. It wasn't even at TGS. It was just randomly announced. Like, well, that's interesting. One thing that could happen is, Microsoft's exclusive is not like exclusive to the console. It's just put it in Game Pass, right? That is an obvious answer for them. And if they get
that's
deal,
the exclusive in itself, though, right?
Yeah, that's the beauty of it, right? And
Yeah.
put it in Game Pass. Don't forego all the sales on other platforms. No issues, right? Because one of the things you see is Final Fantasy 16, right? They went that route. Were exclusive to just the PS5, and that hurt them. You can see the sales are like, okay, they're not bad, but ultimately they did come out and say it did miss the target. They wanted higher sales, right? And if they had just put it out on PC, just PC, they could have had another, I'm sure, a few million sales that they just said, we're not going to do that yet, right? And instead of doing that, you just say, you know what, be wherever you want, put it in Game Pass. It brings people to Game Pass, right? And it keeps expanding Game Pass. Along with that, you get a multitude of users that are there. And now we saw from the leaks, they'll have an understanding of what this game means, how much it would normally sell,
Yep.
and based on that, they'll pay them accordingly, right? They'll say, okay, we'll work this deal with you, and see what makes sense, right? So if Ubisoft Plus isn't coming, which I hope it does, to Game Pass, that would be fantastic, right? They didn't.
I think that's on the. Real Hargeet. I think you just knocked it out of the park with that statement. It makes way too much sense.
Yeah.
To not include it. And like I said, understand there are bags of money being exchanged here. And when you consider what Game Pass already is without Ubisoft Plus, because they have EA, they have their own stuff, they have all the third-party marketing deals that they have dumped. Gotham Knights, play Gotham Knights. It's amazing. That just launched into Game Pass on top of everything. All I'm saying is this, folks. From a consumer point of view, if you were to turn around and drop that into Xbox Game Pass as one of the perks of having Game Pass Ultimate, you are going to really drive the play here. You get all of the value proposition is going to be through the roof, Hargeet.
Yeah, it would be, and it also would justify the increase in price from the 15 to 17 if you actually include Ubisoft Plus. But yeah, if they don't do that, they go and make this deal. That would be kind of cool. I think the one that everybody wants them to make is Splinter Cell, right? That one
that's the one.
Microsoft, right? It was there, right? Xbox kind of it was on the other platforms eventually, but like it was really a partnership with Xbox, right? So that one kind of has organic exclusivity.
I love it. I love it.
So you could see something there. At least bring it to Game Pass. I think that one just has that attach. I think they should do that at least. But Division 3 would be a cool one to go into Game Pass. Though I'm sure it will sell well, right? Division 2 did pretty well, I think. So, it could go that route. The other thing that's interesting is X Defiant comes out. I think it's free to play, correct? So
Yes.
if it works, could they look at that model with Division 3 and say, hey, we'll go the free to play route, right? And see if enough people come in that way, we'll do the usual microtransaction-y thing to gain revenue for it. I don't know if they go that route or not, right? I think X Defiant might be that like a test bed to see if it makes sense or not, because I think up to now when they've tried the free to play thing, it hasn't really worked out for them. So if X Defiant works, perhaps that's a potential for this. Up to now, it's their major games, they still have you buy the game, and then you still have microtransactions on top of that, right? So we'll see if that happens. In which case, it wouldn't matter, right? It would come to everything free, and then you might have perks, right? They might have some Game Pass Ultimate perks for that game if it was free to play. Well, it's an interesting partnership. I'm very surprised that they just randomly announced it, though. Why did they have? Maybe there was like a leak or something that was going to happen. I just don't know why that.
Maybe.
Right? Why that happened that way? Because I would have expected this to be a great showcase announcement at whoever's showcase, whether it's Sony's or Microsoft or their own, right? Like, why wouldn't you announce it? This is a big game, right? Why wouldn't you just announce it that way? But that's kind of the way it is. Was there another one that they did this way too? I think there was another game that got announced that were like, why did you announce it this way? I can't remember the game.
Just like an off the cuff kind of a hey on Twitter. Yeah, it's like, a little shocking for sure.
It's a little weird, but okay. Because the thing is, it could have easily been overshadowed. Well, especially now that you have these other big things being announced with it, right? First, you had TGS, which they announced this alongside that. On top of that, you had the Microsoft leaks, and you now have the CMA approval, right? So it hopefully doesn't get overshadowed, right? Because I think a lot of people like the Division, so hopefully it does get its day. But at some point, there's gonna be a trailer, and then they'll have that showcase thing, right? So. But yeah, it's kind of an odd thing to announce it like right in the middle of a week, just randomly. Like, okay, that's kind of odd. I think a lot of people might miss it.
You made a great point. Maybe maybe they thought it was going to leak because of the documents that made out there, and you know what I'm saying? It's
it's possible that was what it was. It was just a leak of some sort, and they're like, okay, we'll just get ahead of the leak and tell you about it. But yeah, it's all I can think of. I don't know what else it would be, but. As far as Game Pass attach, I don't want them to go exclusive with this because this is a game that really kind of needs.
No, this needs to be played across multiple platforms to exist. 1,000%. Yeah.
Go to all platforms. That makes sense. But again, Microsoft's exclusive is Game Pass. They don't need to pull it from others.
Yeah.
Like, go ahead and have it. We'll just put it in Game Pass. And I think now that's hopefully something Sony will start adopting to say, hey, we can also play that game and put stuff in our PS Plus subscriptions and make that the exclusive instead of locking it away from everybody else, right? But we'll see how that goes, right? And I think also the industry is kind of getting wise to this. Square Enix is case in point of, okay, you can try that, but it might hurt your financials.
You may lose $2 billion, which is what they did. Yeah,
you might want to just stay everywhere and play the subscription route instead, right? Put it in their subscription. If they had just done that instead and say, hey, we'll take $100 million up front or $200 million up front, and you can put it in PS Plus Premium or whatever, fine, right? But we're selling on PC, we're selling on Xbox, we're selling wherever we can, right? That would have been a better option for them, I think, as far as getting money. But anyway, we'll see how that goes with the industry. This is an interesting time, right? Things are changing a lot, so we'll see how that plays out. But Division 3, yeah, I'm excited to try this when it comes out. We'll see what the actual game is. I didn't get to see too much about it, but
I'm just hoping that I don't want to say more of the same. I want gadgets. I want multiplayer. I want single player story. I want hunter missions. I want potentially some globe trotting rather than staying in one particular city, because New York was great. Washington was okay. I know they did. We did have the other DLC that brought you back to New York in a different part, but. There's a lot they can do, and obviously these consoles can push it. Fuzzy,
I'm still waiting on Splinter Cell though. We heard the announcement, and I'm like, where is this game, dude?
Where is this game? Well, what's funny? Years and years and years ago, Randall Thor knew someone that actually was playtesting it, and they wound up scrapping it. And I can tell you this, and I'm not saying this to be facetious, Fuzzy Belvedere. I'm saying this because most people think what I'm thinking. Splinter Cell launched originally on an Xbox as an exclusive. Now, it was a timed exclusive for sure, but it's one of those characters that when you look at it, like for instance, when I think of Snake, I don't think of Xbox, I think of PlayStation. When I think of Sam Fisher, I don't think of a PlayStation, I think of Xbox. And considering the deal, that they have, considering that they, this partnership, wouldn't it be just bombastic to do exactly what Hargeet said? We're going to talk about the Division. We'll get your Division 3 announcement, but you get Division dropped into Game Pass. You get a Splinter Cell dropped into Game Pass. Now you're cooking with oil. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, that would be an awesome way to go about it, as opposed to just doing it as an all-out exclusive. Or even, like, I know a lot of people were not the happiest when it came to the timed exclusive, like 30 days early access and stuff like that on like some of the DLC. But put it in Game Pass. You bring more people to it. People that may have been on the fence will give it a try and probably fall in love with it as well. But I'm so excited for this news as far as Division 3. I even made like a little checklist of things I hope they implement. Like my big fear though is, and just the way the story has been going between 1 and 2, my fear is that we'll find out that the rogues were always right. So it's like we were on the wrong side for Division 1 and 2, and now we find that out the hard way in Division 3. But aside from that, I don't care where it's at. They need to do seasons. Like if they need to talk to the people who are at Playground Games, they need to find a way to do seasons. Like that's the biggest thing I miss from Division or in Division 2. That's the biggest thing I missed from Division 1 was having snow. Like the quietness and the beauty of the snow, and just seeing how it's covering stuff and your steps through the snow and all that, the sound effects or the quietness of the streets in the dark zone until you hear somebody screaming and gunshots and stuff. They need to have something where they have snow in it. Another thing I'm hoping that they do, because they've been improving the game from 1 to 2, so hopefully 3 they'll have something similar to Destiny, and that's that persistent open world. Outside of the dark zone, like the dark zone, pretty much anybody that queues in for that server out of like, I think it's 24 players or something like that. For Division 2, it's like down to 16 for a smaller space. But have the open world where it's persistent, where like even in their mobile game Resurgence, you can see other players that may not be in your squad. And then there can be like public events similar to what Destiny has. Like I've always wanted to see something like the cleaner's trash truck pull up down the street and all of a sudden like offload like 3 or 4 heavies and flamethrowers and things along those lines, and you have to beat that boss to get a decent loot drop or something like that type of deal. Have those type of events going out throughout the map, or have an APC if it's the Black Tusk or the
like the
LMB
public events in Destiny.
Yeah.
Yes, that would be freaking awesome, dude.
And another thing they have to make sure that they do this time that they did with Division 1 but didn't do with Division 2, have a survival mode.
My brother played that for hundreds of hours. We literally were just talking about that yesterday. He was a survival freak master.
Yeah. And then this is probably the more controversial thing that I'm hoping for. And I know there's people for and against this, but have just one dark zone location, like whether it's centralized or at one side of the map, but make it so when you cross the door, it's either PvPvE, and that's the normal one,
right?
Or have a PvE one, but make it so it's only recon. There's no extractions. You just get to see what the map is like, and you can get crafting materials or blueprints. So the weapons that you could get playing the PvPvE, you would have to get the blueprints doing the recon version. Where if you don't want to have people, rob you at the extraction point, just keep farming that so you can get the crafting materials and the blueprints. So, a run of the PvPvE, you could probably get that, named weapon. But if you're going to do it the recon method, it might take you 10, it might take you 20, maybe even take you 30 runs. Like I know Division 1 that,
but at least it's your choice though. You know what I'm saying? Like it gives the player a choice.
Yeah. And I think that's like the nice compromise. And for all the PvP only type fans out there, the key thing is if you do it this way and people get more comfortable with the map and eventually get better gear that way, then they're more likely to go into the PvPvE. So that way it constantly gives you a
Yes.
constant supply of, you know, people to rob, or hopefully not grit or grief or whatever. But that's a way to kind of keep the game alive. Because the biggest thing with Division 1 and 2, there's a certain point where it's like the PvE players just, you know, don't touch the dark zone, and the PvP eventually get tired of fighting the same people. So if you want to have new blood in that area, that's the best way to have it. It's kind of like
Yeah.
what they do in Escape from Tarkov. You can do scav runs or things like that where you're in the, you know, bot only you know, map. So at least you get comfortable with some of the, you know, hiding points and extraction points and things like that. But I hope they do all of those. If they have another ETF or that elite task force where they fly out to massive studio, I'll definitely sign up this go around. But
Oh
man,
yes.
I
Yeah.
can't wait for this game to see more about it. Just kind of fearing that the rogues were right from beginning, but we'll see. I'm pretty sure they're going to have a nice plot twist on this one for 3. Can't wait.
Yep, that absolutely. Crispy Bomb, let's bring you into the conversation. Division 3 announced, and it's funny, you know, he mentioned about you know, like we all have like one particular thing that happens in gaming, right? That you walk away from, you're like, can't believe that actually happened. My brother and I actually had in the Division 1, we had something like this happen, and I know he's listening and he's probably gonna laugh. We jump into the dark zone, right? We come across a group. That's 4 of them versus 2. We're pinned down. We're finished. We have gear, so we're gonna lose it. We're gonna definitely lose this. They're gonna overrun us, whatever. Out of absolutely nowhere, come 4 dudes, and they were professionals. They wipe out the entire 4 guys. So now what happens is we were pinned down in a corner. And we're like, well, we got nowhere to go. It's it. We're dead. These four players come out of nowhere, right? Now the people that were attacking us are 6 on. Now it's 6 on 4, and we kill them, right? We loot them. The 4 same people that just came to our rescue do the salute and they take off running. It was the greatest freaking thing I've ever have happen in gaming. Like, I'm like, holy cow. We went from we're dead to holy cow. We just got saluted by a bunch of like, it was like the Wild West. It was amazing. But Crispy Bomb, let's talk about it. Division 3 announced again. Very suspect on the heels of the collaboration between Ubisoft and Microsoft to get this deal across the finish line. Coincidence or not so much?
Not so much.
Yep.
Let's be logical here. You know, Baldur's Gate 3 is a prime example. Okay. Phil saw the narrative. He said, F around and find out. You guys want help? We'll give you help. All right. I mean, really think about it. Okay. You know, there's been a lot of postings. A lot of people ignore it. I retweet them usually of people joining Microsoft's technical aspect. That, you know, they're basically the angel wings that come in and lift you up when you're like, I don't know what to do. And that's where I think like a lot of people are like, oh, you know, like who are they going to buy? I think they're going to buy people who can fly. I
actually think that deal is quote unquote done because they signed on for like 10 years, and you know, I mean, I don't know.
They just dropped a game that they were making for years.
Yes.
And it had nothing to do with that, but now they signed that contract with Microsoft and they moved their studio. They are, you know, Unreal will be a part of everything. I think at the end of the day, you could have a different, you know, coding process and everything else, but they look at it and say, like, where does it stem from? Where does your logic come from? And that's why you've seen the coalition work on multiple games. You know, yes, they might send 3 people, but those 3 people are so good that it's like, what is going on? You look at how Ubisoft does things. they need a little help right now. I have probably I mean I'm going off the cuff probably 20 days in Division 1. I have about maybe 2 or 3 in Division 2. The one thing I lost was the story until I got into the Gangs in New York DLC.
That was dope.
That brought
Yeah.
the story back really tenfold. And that's the thing about the Division. The Division allows you to play by yourself as we're seeing right now. But really in the heat of it, you want people or meet people or do anything. Like you just brought the example of going into the dark zone and having people save you and then walk away and not try to kill you.
So good.
You know what I mean? And those things happen. And that's where I say, like, you know, people ignore the fact that the sense of discovery, and then you're like, dude, like, come back, like, let's team up. You know what I mean? Like, you're like, what are we doing here? And then they just walk away. But I mean, that's how I played the game. Like, if somebody needed help, I'd help them, and I wouldn't steal nothing from them unless they stole something from me. I would go back in the dark zone; they'd still be in there, and I'd rape them after they took something from me. Okay, I'd be like, "Not you done, bro." All right, and that's where, like, I get why they did what they did with the dark zone in Division 2, but it was a little too far. You know what I mean? Like, this is a game that you go into a safe house and you'd be like, hey, you want to join up? You're like a way higher level. And sometimes people be like, yeah, let's have some fun.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
really good.
And you just look at their character, they'd be sitting there, and then you'd like ping them, and then you'd be like, okay, like, let's get into a chat. And then they join, and you're like, oh, all right, like, oh, but I'm waiting for the rest of my group, but we need one more. You know what I'm saying? Those are the type of things that happen in the Division. And the one thing I love is, like, the aesthetic of the game. Like, really, like, we can all relate to it at this point. Like, we could have watched everything collapse, but it didn't happen.
Right.
But at the same time, like, yes, this is a real thing. And they were just so far ahead. It's insane, really. And that's where I say, like, the aesthetics of Ubisoft, it's always going to be there. It's whether they're going to embrace the fact that they can make some really good single player or multiplayer games that you really don't know when you're playing single player or multiplayer. And not a lot of companies can say of that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't know when you're just like, oh, I'm playing single player. And then all of a sudden you meet up with a group, or you join a mission, and then you meet a bunch of people that you're like, oh, dude, these guys are cool. Or this people are cool, you know, girls, guys, whatever. Like, I've met so many people on the Division, and that's
my
where
friends
I say,
list
like,
is littered with people that I met on the Division. It's crazy.
And you know, the fact is that when this game was announced, the original Division, I was sitting there like, whoa, this is something new. And yes, it was broken at the beginning. I will agree, but still to this day, I would rather play the first one than the second one.
Me
So
too.
I want
I'm a big
the Division
one
3.
fan,
The Division 3 should meld both together because both had great things. And there's forums, there's everything. Take these people into consideration. And also, don't ignore the fact that I feel like after this partnership is finalized, Microsoft will help you when it comes down to it. And they will make sure that this game runs correctly. And people will say, oh, it's just for Xbox. And I would say, I'm not sure about that. Because I've seen games that only come out for PlayStation first, then Phil jumps in, and then watch what happens later. We might see that with Baldur's Gate. You never know. You might see it run better on PlayStation than it ever has. Because we like Phil because he's a gamer.
Yep.
Okay? He listed off how many games during Gamescom in that one interview. How many games he's playing. The guy's a gamer. Maybe he's ruthless businessman. We kind of have an inkling about that. Should he not be? Should he not want to keep his job until he's done? Until he decides he's done? I mean, let's be honest here. So having a partnership with Ubisoft, who kind of it feels like they're just kind of folding over the paper, and then there's a point where the paper can't be folded anymore. And then you look at it and you're like, well, how is this possible? I should be able to continue to fold this. Well, you don't have the strength to. Ubisoft doesn't have the strength right now. They just keep folding the paper and they keep, rehashing things in their own way or releasing a new title, quote unquote, and not doing anything innovative. When I remember Ubisoft doing all the things innovative. So maybe they can get back to that, because on their path right now, it's not working. And that's okay. You know what I mean? But the Division 3 could be something special. I mean, you just look at this gameplay right now, and it's something that, sometimes you're like, oh crap, I'm going to die and I'm by myself. And then, if you're in the dark zone, sometimes people help you. Sometimes they shoot you in the back. That's the part of it. So, I mean, that's something I loved about it, but also, I get like having little nuances that say, like, if you want to play single player, well, just make that, you know what I mean? And then you join people that are trying to do, this Destiny style, raid or something. That's cool too. They gotta innovate a little bit, and I think they can do that because it seems like they're kind of reinvigorated right now, which is good, and that's what I want to hear.
I mean, great points all around. Absolutely. Listen, before we get on out of here, we got to hear from Web Dave. Dave, Division 3, it gets announced yesterday. It's official, right?
Yes.
Now, the reason why I really want to pick your brain here is because you're our business guy. You've been on the front part of this whole conversation about the ABK deal getting done. Now you look at this deal between Ubisoft. Ubisoft is going to be running all of the cloud for Activision Blizzard King. It is a big deal. It's very coincidental, if you will, where here we go. Yesterday, Division 3 confirmed, to the delight of many fans, including Fuzzy, myself, Hargeet, Crispy, many people in the chat. And now the deal gets announced as basically being done. Their preliminary the findings is like, yep, we approve. We're just waiting to the 6th of October. Coincidence or not, sir?
Could be for sure, because they're in the limelight of this deal too, because they keep getting brought up as to the conclusion of the deal. The acceptance for the CMA is that Ubisoft is going to take on the responsibility of their handling the cloud gaming. So they are in the forethought of every bit of the conversation. As far as like this game, I would assume it's going to stay multi-plat, for the simple fact that the more places it's available,
it's definitely saying multi-platform.
Yeah, because the more places it's available, the more revenue they're gonna bring in if it's available. I mean, love it or hate it, Sony's fan base are people that on PlayStation and nothing else, and they want to play this, are going to pay for the extras and the amenities and the things like that are awesome. Now, would it behoove Microsoft to maybe make some kind of, not necessarily Game Pass deal, but maybe Game Pass perk with this?
Sure.
I mean, that way, I don't know that they throw it into Game Pass necessarily, at least not at first. But definitely some kind of like special package, special skins, a loadout, something like that could be available on Game Pass. If you get it on their ecosystem, why not? There's nothing to preclude them from doing that. So the big question I'm skirting around with you guys is, I've never played this game, 1 or 2, and it looks good. I've just never played it for whatever reason. I've just
definitely listen. If you want to get down, we'll run you through because we'll level you up, because this is, like I said, I'll tell you this. What's interesting, especially considering Division 1, there are people still playing this game. Like my brother was like, you should check out, and 1 is my favorite of the 2. Definitely 1 over 2 for sure. I do agree with Crispy Bomb where the Gangs from New York, where you brought us back to New York for 2, was just phenomenal. But yeah, listen, if you ever want to get down, brother, this is still viable. People are still playing. It's It's just, I mean, you can see by the gameplay. It's
Oh, you look
still
like you're having a
looks
blast, man.
I
It looks
would-
like
I
a
would-
lot of fun.
I would go through the story with you again, brother, because the story
I
is
you know what?
really
I'll tell
good,
you one thing.
too.
I'll do one even better. I'll re-roll a character for
Ooh.
in the Division 1. I'll start fresh with everyone. We me, you, Fuzzy, whoever wants to play, let's get down. I'll re-roll a new character. There's no doubt about it.
I love was it Smokey in the chat? WTF, Web Dave. I mean,
listen,
play
dude,
all of them, right? Sorry, man.
I love it. I
But
love it.
but I love this this community. So yeah, I'll take you guys up on that. That would be awesome. So
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. But listen, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for this week's new episode of Breakfast at Boom. What an amazing Friday. What a great way. We have Hargeet Chani joining us, popping in with the fireworks, of course. We had a lot of big laughs here. Shout out to my very good friend Gotham Guy in the chat. Goat Reviews, what's going on, brother? Welcome. Mental 9R, welcome. I tried to reach, I mean, we had 800 people here. I tried to message everyone and welcome you in here. But listen, let's get to the outros. Hargeet Chani, obviously, I would imagine that this week's new episode of Game On Daily with Asa and of course Gaz is going to be as salty as you could possibly expect. Where
be on
could
it.
people? What's that?
And I'll be on.
And he's going to be on it, so that's
I'll be
going to be
on
awesome.
this week.
Where
Yeah.
could people see the saltiness for themselves? Potentially, should they take some medication prior to tuning in because the saltiness is flying left, right, and center?
Yep.
People might have heart attacks. We keep a defibrillator close. Talk about it,
it'll be
brother.
fun.
Brand of Game On Daily. And where else could people find you on a weekly basis, sir?
Yeah. So GameOnDaily.com and then YouTube.com/GameOnDaily. Check out the Go Live show on at 4 p.m. US Eastern Time on Saturday tomorrow. And yeah, we'll be going over the fun. Certainly it'll be an interesting episode. And then I'll also be on Fonz's show on Sunday, 6 p.m. US Eastern Time. And back to RDX on Tuesday at 8 p.m.
And that
US
should be
Eastern Time
another
on
party.
Dealers.
That should be another party
It'll
because
be
we'll have
another
maybe
fun one.
potentially some more information. So
Yep. Should be a fun time on Dealer Gaming's channel. And then back here again, Primetime Gaming on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. US Eastern. We'll have fun there too. We'll see how much more info we get. I mean, this week was ridiculously awesome. And we'll see how it happens next week, right? There's always something going on with Microsoft. There's always some good news going on, right? Something at least that we can talk about. I think there's gonna be more like analysis of all the leak stuff because there was a lot of stuff in there, right? So
yeah.
we'll get more and more stuff as we keep going, and we'll probably be talking about it for months. So that'll keep coming, and I hope after this ABK thing is done, we start hearing about a new round of acquisitions, before and after the New Year's. We'll see what happens. But yeah, so check all that out, and if you want to reach me, it's HChani on Xbox and HChani on Discord. I am not on any other social media.
Listen, you're definitely better for it. Real quick, two other super chats I want to get to. Andy, ADNY and Grand drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, "Does this deal mean that I can't continue my Crash Bandicoot save file on the go because Ubisoft now owns cloud streaming rights, or is also in the UK only?" No, your stuff is going to work just fine. It's not going to be, and there's not going to be any issue with it being on cloud, or I think it's going to be it should theoretically work just fine. It's just they're going to be handling the rights for cloud. That's all. So there should be no problems there. X Atticus comes a very generous $5 super chat and says, "This is G&A sound wild, but I am more looking forward to Division 3 than Halo Reboot. Third-person RPG looter shooter is my thing." Yeah, I agree with you. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with Halo. I think that the same way you saw, let's say, for instance, Cyberpunk get this resurgence, get like the 2.0 patch, get the DLC that's getting crazy good reviews. I actually think we can and will actually see a resounding Halo coming back in a big way. I listen, I'll put it to this way. I believe, and this is just me, maybe my glass is half full rather than yours is half empty, a universe. I think that we could see a Starfield level return for Master Chief. under new management of 343, under a new direction, under new leadership, under a new ideology. The old 343 is gone. The ones that ruined Halo, they're gone. The problem with 343 was there were too many chefs and not enough cooks, and that's what wound up happening, and that's what spoiled the broth. So, I mean, listen, Halo Infinite is absolutely astounding in both single player and multiplayer, but we know what we want as Halo players, and we want a Halo 3 level launch where the world stops to look at what is happening. And we saw that happen with Starfield. I really, truly believe we're going to see that in the coming years for Halo and the Master Chief. But of course, let's see. Fuzzy Belvedere, sell your brand, sir. Tell everyone where they can find you on other programs. Talk about your incredible YouTube channel that's dedicated to anything and everything racing. Where can people reach out to you on social media, sir?
Oh, just thank you for having me on. Awesome having Hargeet on here as well. Always love hearing his takes on things, and always have a fun time here with Dave and Crispy and you. Man, definitely, if anybody's up for Division 1 or 2, hit me up. It's Fuzzy_Belvedere. But you can follow me on the app formerly known as Twitter at Fuzzy_Belvedere, and on YouTube, Fuzzy Belvedere, all one word. You can also find me on Xbox Ultimate Podcast, 10 p.m. on Fun Speculations channel later on tonight. And then tomorrow, the Shop Podcast, 9 p.m. on PTK Blam's channel.
Should be a party.
And then on Monday, right here for Xbox Lunch Break Special for 12 noon on Monday. Look forward to seeing everybody here. Thanks for joining us. Don't forget to hit the like button. Thanks again.
Well, thank you, brother. Definitely appreciate you not only being a part of this show, but of course being part of Monday's show as well. You bookend the week, and obviously your stout, intelligence when it comes to gaming is great to have you a part of the panel. And of course, you do an amazing job on other people's shows. But we want to push your show. We want to get your channel to 1K, folks. If his information has been dropped into the chat, please consider subscribing to Fuzzy Belvedere's channel. We want to get him to 1K. Super important that we do that, and we work together as a community to get that done. Crispy Bomb, sell your brand, brother. Where can people reach out to you on social media? What else you got going on?
At Crispy Bomb on X. I'll say it. Twitter X, whatever you want to call it. Crispy Bomb 28 on Xbox Live. Yes, I'm also down to play Division. I have to reinstall it, but I have a few extra gigs now thanks to Amazon, but that's besides the point. I'm also on Gaming Beyond the Box, 7 p.m. Sundays. Yes, rated M for mature, so put the kids to bed, please, or tell them to go play a game.
Listen to headphones.
And of course, back here on Breakfast with Boom, Fridays 10 a.m. We'll see you then, and maybe you never know. Crispy might show up somewhere else.
Yeah, we love it when you do, and you show up the surprise appearances, if you will. Kind of like when the Ultimate Warrior first came out, he just slid into the ring, beat the hell out of everybody, and ran out, and was like, what just happened? That's Crispy Bomb. I love it. And last and no way least, Web Dave, please sell your brand. This Sunday's show with Retri and your guests should be absolutely wild. And also, where and why people should subscribe to your incredible YouTube channel. You know why? Because he does the best one-on-one interviews in the business. Sell it, brother. Talk about it. And where can people reach out to you on social media?
Thanks,
you're
Boom.
muted.
Appreciate
There you go.
I got it. Sorry about that. Thanks, Boom, for having me on. Hargeet, thank you so much for jumping in with us. Always love your takes. Crispy, you're the man. Fuzzy, you're the best racer I know. And Boom, thank you for having me on, man. This is awesome place to be. I dropped my link in the description below, in the chat, and we got a show on Saturday as our bonus show. What we call the members episode, which is now for everybody. It's complicated, but it's still fun. And this week's guest on that, which will be on Saturday, is actually going to be Steel Rain.
Nice.
So
very nice.
Yeah, we also have a member chat too, Boom, that just
Okay,
happened. I
let me-
wanted to
yeah,
make sure you got
get
that. And
Yep.
then Saturday show, we're gonna have Slow-Mo, Backslap, and Lady Firefox are both gonna be on.
Great. Two fantastic guests, brother.
Exactly.
Excellent.
Foxfire, for fuck's sake.
What did I say? Firefox?
Yeah,
Firefox?
Firefox.
You know
Fox,
what? She's
Lady.
she's fiery hot, and she's a lady.
There you go. Look at you cleaned it up. Yeah, listen, obviously that's going to be a great show. Two fantastic
I love
guests, and we appreciate you being a part of the show again. Of course, on Fridays and Mondays. Chaos Theory, who's been a channel member for 46 months, brother. Thank you so much for the generosity. He simply says in all caps, "Hold the line," and we all did, folks. We all held the line, and we're better for it. But, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it. A big thank you to over 800 people that tuned into this. If you are new, you're finding the channel, please, for the love of Joe, consider subscribing. Of course, I want to say a big thank you to all of the incredible super chats and, of course, member chats as well. We definitely appreciate you support the channel through channel membership and, of course, the super chats that come in during the shows. And we can't do our big giveaways without them. And, of course, listen, folks, celebrate. Xbox is going to be the home of Call of Duty. That's going to be the place for Call of Duty and WoW and everything else. And you can now take your victory lap. The CMA finally realized that they were not going to stop this deal. That, you know, they can posture all they want. They get out there and they can, politic all they want. At the end of the day, they were wrong. But you know what? We win as gamers, and that is what really counts. Enjoy the rest of the day. Have a fantastic and safe weekend. And of course, I'm going to close out the show with something that's incredibly important to me, folks. Hopefully one day it'll be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught me with kids. And he would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, Craig. I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. And we'll see you next week on the newest episode of Breakfast with Boom.